Hi, I'm Marna, and this is the Twin Flame Detox. I'm sorry I've been absent for a few days, but I've been working on a new course. This is an intensive bootcamp course that is specifically designed to help you address your core wounding, to find your shadow self, to face it down, integrate those energies into yourself, and move forward as a whole person. So let's do a video talking about what this bootcamp course I've been working on is going to bring to you. If you are interested in the bootcamp, stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to have all the sign-up instructions there. Okay? Good. Let's go. So now, what is a core wound? Let's get the basics out of the way. A core wound is a belief that something in you is inherently flawed, and because of that flaw, you do not deserve whatever it is that you are not getting in life. Be that love, be that happiness, be finances, whatever it is. These core wounds come from things that are said to us by generally well-meaning caregivers when we're children. So, your core wound believes that there is a flaw in you. One of the core wounds that I've been addressing as I've been making this whole series of videos has been the belief that I was meant to be seen and not heard. Well, now I'm being heard, and trust me, healing my throat chakra so that I could make these videos took a lot of work. So that is how insidious these beliefs are. This is something that can be said to you once in childhood, and it just worms its way into your brain and gets stuck there, and it shapes every aspect of your life afterwards. There have been times in my life when I did not call out sexual assault for what it was because I was not meant to be heard. There were times in my life when I did not speak up about being discriminated against in the workplace because I was meant to not be heard. This controls your entire life without you even knowing that it is there. So it is crucial that you learn to recognize how the shadow self is manifesting in your life, and then that you learn how to reach the core wounds that birthed the shadow self so that you can heal that damage. All right. So how do you know when a core wound is manifesting in your life? So some of the more common signs are you'll go into a relationship with someone because they have what you lack. You're hoping to find yourself, to feel complete. Yeah, in Jerry Maguire, when the guy started saying, "You complete me," total sign of a core wound being addressed. You should never have to find your completeness in another person. You are complete in and of yourself. And if you're seeking that completeness somewhere else, then that's a sign that you have a core wound. People who have unhealed and unaddressed core wounds often feel inadequate. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I don't count. I'm imperfect. Or even more insidious, I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm powerless. There's nothing I can do. These are all signs that you have core wounds that are holding you back from realizing your true potential. And on some level, you recognize that you're being held back because that's where those thoughts are coming from. People who have unhealed core wounds tend to feel abandoned, resentment, like they've been betrayed by life, because really, you have. The people who raised you, who were supposed to be your cheering group, the people who are supposed to support you no matter what, instilled this sense of inadequacy in you instead, whether they meant to or not. That was still a betrayal of what should have been, and it's okay to recognize it as such. People who have unhealed core wounds often tend to be perfectionists and then use being that perfectionist as a reason not to do anything. Well, if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it all. If anything worth doing is worth doing in a ball gown. If I can't be perfect, then I shouldn't even try. How many times have you told yourself that you can't try a new skill because you won't be any good at it? Yeah, there's your core wound right there. Let's see, people who have unhealed core wounds often suffer from anxiety. Keep in mind, anxiety can also manifest as depression. because you have this sense that there is emotional pain coming to you because of your lack of perfection. Now, if that doesn't set you up for a recipe of being messed up as an adult, I don't know what does. I mean, really. You also tend to repeat your old mistakes. How many times have you gone back to a bad relationship or a toxic relationship? How many times have you gotten into a new relationship and realized this person is just as bad as the last one was? How many times have you repeated those patterns? Because those are your core wounds crying out to be addressed and still being ignored. You, after a while of this, being miserable starts to feel comfortable because it's what you know. You start feeling like you're happier when you're miserable. Have you heard the garbage song, I'm only happy when it rains? I know, I'm old. But that is a core wound right there. I'm only happy when it's complicated. That is a sign of something that needs to be addressed within you. When you have these core wounds, you behave in ways that are dishonest or inauthentic to yourself. And again, you may not even realize you're doing this. You're doing this on a completely subconscious level. Was it being authentic to myself when I wrote off a date's inappropriate behavior as, oh, it was a misunderstanding? Because trust me, it was not a misunderstanding when I told that man no 5 times. And I still didn't have him arrested for putting his hands on me without permission. That was my core wound acting out. That was my shadow self telling me I was safer by accepting being assaulted than by stepping up and saying, no, this is wrong. We all have these core wounds. Don't believe anyone who tells you they don't. It's just a matter of identifying what yours are. People who have core wounds tend to be their own worst critic because we've already taken this statement from our childhood, internalized it, and have found ways to apply it to every aspect of our lives. How many times have you looked at something that you have drawn or written or produced and said, oh, this is total trash, only to have your friends look at it and go, man, you're really good? Trust your friends. Don't trust yourself because, when you're being your own worst critic, that is, again, that pain from your childhood telling you you're not good enough no matter what you do. And, one of the biggest signs of an unhealed core wound is how many times have you felt like you're on the outside looking in? How many times have you felt like you are an outcast? How many times have you felt like you just don't quite fit in? And every once in a while you may find a group of people and go, yes, this is my tribe. But for the most part, you feel like you just aren't measuring up, no matter how hard you work at it. That is your core wound speaking to you. So let's look at some of the most common beliefs and the core wounds that give birth to them. Because, knowledge is power. And again, in the course, we go through all of this in depth. This is an intensive 3-week course where you just go through all of this. Boom, 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 boom. But coming into it, you should have a background knowledge of what you're getting yourself into because this is not going to be easy. So, some core wound beliefs. I am an inherently flawed individual. I am imperfect. I am worthless. There is something wrong with me. The way you compensate for that is I must be perfect. I must be on my game at all times. I must show that there is nothing wrong with me. If I do it perfectly enough, I'll be loved. There is your negative core belief right there. I can guarantee you, if you believe that, someone at some point in your childhood told you you weren't doing good enough. For me, it was when my parents looked at me and said, okay, you brought home a 95 on the spelling test. Why wasn't it 100? Yeah, it's that small a thing, and that changes your entire life. So let's see. Core belief. I'm worthless. I'm trash. I have no inherent value. These people tend to become the type A personalities, the go-getters, the ones who have to prove that they are worthy of everything they get, the ones who have to win at all costs. Or it can manifest as, if I give of myself completely and unselfishly, if I give away myself enough, I'll be loved. This is a personality that struggles with codependence, and at the same time, conversely, feels like they need to be perceived as being independent no matter what. The people who never ask for help but are constantly craving it. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. I cannot do enough. I can't act. I cannot decide. There's something that is keeping me from making a decision. Executive dysfunction. Or as one of my exes used to say, I'm not going to apply for this job because I'm afraid of being rejected for it. How much does that impact your life? Now, one way to compensate for this is people who become overachievers. I must be Superman. This personality has a tendency to become very grandiose, very self-absorbed, because they are struggling to hide their feelings of inadequacy behind a veneer of vanity. If I accomplish enough, if I have enough trophies in my trophy cabinet, I will be loved. Okay. How about the core belief of, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I don't know why you bother with me? That one tends to come out as, I am going to show that I am a very stable genius, because if I'm smart enough, I'll be loved. Are you seeing the common thread here? All of these beliefs of inadequacy that all boil down to, what do I have to do to be loved? Now, the most common one that I'm seeing in the millennial age group, and y'all, I don't blame you at all for feeling this way, because let's face it, life has sucked. But the most common one I'm seeing for millennials is a negative core belief of existential nihilism. I am nothing. I have nothing. I am nothingness. I want to return to the void. Now, the way this tends to compensate is you tend to think your feelings rather than allowing yourself to actually feel them. This is a personality who dissociates from their feelings very early on. And the way to address this is to learn to accept your feelings and allow yourself to actually feel them. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm observing that I'm afraid right now. It is not enough to say, yeah, I'm in a haunted house, and be blasé about it. Go ahead, be afraid, scream, make yourself heard, and put your voice out there. Give expression to the feelings you have instead of repressing them. Because what you are truly saying is, if I disappear, if I am unnoticeable, if I don't make waves, I can be loved. And none of us deserve to feel that way. So this gives you an example of the level that we are going to in the bootcamp. This gives you an idea of just where this is going to take you. If any of these words resonated with you, if you feel that you are worthless, not good enough, cannot do anything right, like you are trash, like you are garbage, like you are only happy when it rains, then take the boot camp. Face those shadow self manifestations and start healing the core wounds that are behind them. Start looking at where those beliefs came from and doing the work to accept that wounded child that's still hiding inside of you, hiding behind the big bad shadow of worthlessness. When you can find that child, love that child, and shine the light of your love onto that shadow self, your entire life changes because you're no longer controlled by this unconscious motivating factor. You will actually be making conscious choices instead of allowing this ingrained shadow self to keep you from becoming who you are truly meant to be. So, now, hopefully, you have recognized your own issues. If you can't recognize your own issues, there's no one that can help you. But trust me, we all have them. I will say, please share this video, share this information with people who are in a state where they are ready to start this healing. Now then, to actually get into the program, I've got a link in the box below to the launch page, or you can contact me and my team directly at twinflamedetox@gmail.com. Set up a consultation call. We will get in touch with you and we will work with you to make sure that this is the right program to help you address these issues so that you can move forward being your conscious, realized self. I'm Marna. Thank you for joining me.